In 2016, a single animated film shook all of Japan. Director Makoto Shinkai's Your Name, a box office take of over 25 billion yen, an unprecedented phenomenon in domestic anime history. But why did that film capture the hearts of so many? Beautiful visuals? Radwimps's music? Or perhaps the achingly bittersweet love story? Toshio Okada says, it's not just that. Your Name's real secret lies in the fact that Makoto Shinkai abandoned his artistic identity. A director who had kept portraying complex, hopeless
made
love
a conscious
stories to
decision.
craft a film anyone can understand, even
He
a
created
total
a
amateur,
surface
of conventional drama that would make anyone cry, while hiding a structural mechanism deep within the film. This double-layer structure was the formula behind the 25 billion yen hit. In this video, Toshio Okada dissects Your Name in exhaustive detail. Why did Shinkai change his style? What is the power of convention? And where does its universality as global cinema come from? We go straight to the core.
What Shinkai challenged this time was abandoning his artistic identity. I mean, in Star Longing, two people are light years apart, and the boy is supposed to keep loving the girl forever. But she just went and got married on her own, while the girl fights aliens at the edge of the universe, wondering, will I ever get to meet him again? It's heartbreaking stuff. He kept writing story after story with no redemption, just pure heartache. And he got some recognition for it. But at this rate, I'll never become Ghibli. I'll never become Anno Hideaki. Maybe that's what he was told. I don't know, but something clicked and he just completely shifted gears. All right, I'm making a movie even middle schoolers can understand. Blunt, but that's the idea. Look, I made it. Look, the dummies are crying. That kind of vibe, not unlike Star Longing, maybe. But calling them dummies is going too far. As I said earlier, most people in the world can only connect with something that's simple and direct. Once you've debuted as a mainstream creator, making something everyone can understand is absolutely the right move. If only the right people get it, you end up like Wednesday Downtown. A niche cult thing. Shinkai worked that niche route for over a decade, then realized there's no future this way. So he completely pivoted to full-on conventional storytelling. That's why it became such a massive hit, I think. Man, my 2016 self really had no filter, did he? I'd never say things like that now. 3 years ago, I was just fearless, I guess. So someone asked in the comments, is Your Name actually science fiction? Yes, it is. There are scientific constraints built into it, like the complex, overlapping timelines, the time paradox contradictions, and the orbital path of the Tiamat comet. All those scientific constraints are handled with total enjoyment. He really makes it work. That's classic SF. But honestly, my past self really shocked me. So much attitude. So what is beta, what I call conventional drama? Simply put, it's an expression designed to move people even if they don't fully understand it. I call that beta, conventional storytelling, and I was calling it abandoning artistic identity. Here's the thing. Instead of making the story or theme the source of his artistry, he decided his artistry would be his visuals, the power and expressiveness of his imagery. And the dramatic story parts? He boldly pushed those into pure conventional territory. That's what makes Your Name so remarkable. So what does the power of visuals actually mean? Take the time-lapse sequences. The time-lapse style visuals in Your Name. Sun rising, sun setting, over and over, shown in rapid fast-forward. Now, that technique actually comes from the anime Akira. In Akira, there's a shot where a motorcycle's tail light streaks behind it as the bike speeds past, a streak effect. That's what it is. A streak comes from the optical sensor inside a video camera's lens. It's a limitation of the sensor's processing speed. Because the optical sensor inside the camera can't quite keep up with reality. When something bright moves fast, it leaves a trail behind it. It appears to be trailing light. It's a limitation of video cameras, but Akira used it in a motorcycle chase scene to actually create a sense of realism. In the same way, Your Name uses time-lapse imagery to create realism. Because what we perceive as reality isn't actually how we see things in the real world. It's built from the kinds of images we encounter every day in media. That's the thing. So a grainy, video-like image can actually feel more real. And things like streak effects and time-lapse footage. Time-lapse visuals. When you see them deliberately used in animation, it's almost startling. They feel incredibly real. And there's another aspect of Shinkai's visual artistry. This one's hard to explain, but let me try. In the sky, there are shadows of birds. Bear with me, my drawing's rough. Does this make sense? The sun is setting. You can barely see it over there, but the sun is setting and birds are flying in the sky. And there's a shadow on the birds. Right here, a subtle shadow. This shouldn't be possible in reality. Think about it. Shadows can't appear in the sky. That's not how it works. But in Shinkai's art, in your name, birds flying in the sky have a faint shadow behind them in several scenes. And again, this doesn't happen in reality. It's not real. It's actually closer to manga-style visual language. By deliberately bringing that manga-like expression into live-action style animation, you get this feeling of, I've seen this before. But the reason we feel like we've seen it before is the same as with streaks and time-lapse. We've seen it in constructed, mediated imagery. By bringing that into the real world deliberately, you create a startling, visceral sense of reality. Shinkai confined his artistry to that visual domain, then boldly pushed the theme and story into pure conventional territory. Rather than forcing his deep drama on the audience, he chose to hide it inside the story. So what kind of drama did he hide? Let's watch the next clip. This is about the relationship between theme and story. Also a 10-minute video, also from September 2016. Let's roll the footage. The relationship between theme and story, this time around. Yeah. Right. In the film, the word musubi, to tie, to connect, appears. Musubi, and also kumihimo, braided cords, weaving threads together. These keep coming back throughout the story. The story itself feels like it's caught in a loop, repeating itself. Different timelines, different events weaving together, things shifting around, spinning threads into a narrative. In other words, musubi, to connect, to bind, flows through the entire story. What I was thinking about was the protagonist, Mitsuha, and then, who was it? I'm blanking on the name. Was it Take? No, Taki. That's right. Thanks. Taki and Mitsuha share this experience of switching bodies. And there's a scene where Mitsuha talks to her grandmother. Oh, body switching. That sort of thing. Grandma, I think I experienced that too. And wasn't it the same for your mother? That scene. So Mitsuha comes from a Shinto priest lineage, and in that family, it seems like since ancient times, when someone comes of age, these details are woven in naturally. But why? Because at the core, originally, Mitsuha and Taki switch bodies, but Grandma also switched with someone. Mom also switched with someone. We're never told who. It's not written. But it's left vague in a way you can figure out. Why? Because, actually, it's the father. That's why, when Mitsuha goes to her father, the town mayor, she's been vague up till now, just saying everyone needs to evacuate. But her father wasn't convinced at all. Not at all. But the moment she says, I've been switching bodies with someone, her father's reaction changes. Why? Why hadn't he remarried? Why had he always cherished the memory of his wife so deeply? because of that same experience. And that's precisely why, when his daughter comes to him with this seemingly wild claim, a meteor is going to hit this spot, he's able to believe it. Without that, the father's change of heart is completely unexplained. All we see is Mitsuha going to her father, pleading, "Dad, please listen to me." And that's it. Then everything jumps ahead. Suddenly, the town mayor shows incredible leadership, evacuates the villagers. That's just in a newspaper article. Why he acted, there's no explanation at all. And it all holds together because of that underlying structural connection. In other words, the entire story is built on multiple layers connecting through time and space, Musubi. Now let's think about the orbital path of the Tiamat comet. Some inaccuracies have been pointed out, but there's the sun, the Earth. The Earth orbiting the sun. Got it. Earth orbiting the sun. The Tiamat comet, once every 1,200 years, comes from outside the solar system, passes near Earth, and heads toward the sun. So when the comet is here, its tail extends this way. The tail extends away from the sun, you see. This time, it splits in two, and a fragment heads toward Earth. It falls every 1,200 years, causing catastrophic disaster. But 1,200 years ago, if you look at a photograph of the village, there's a crater. And right in the middle of it is a shrine. And right beside the crater is the village. Of course, that crater is from 1,200 years ago. So, this is that same cycle, like the repetition of Mitsuha, her mother, her grandmother. It may have happened in the distant past too, 1,200 years ago, 2,400 years ago, perhaps it goes back that far. Why? Because at some point, a fragment that had fallen to Earth wanted to reunite with another fragment. The whole story is Tanabata. Two things that were separated, whether human or meteoric, share the same desire. To meet again. That wish works a miracle. But the miracle worked by the stars brings enormous trouble. So, like Ultraman, I am Hayata, I carry two lives. That kind of feeling. It gives this family a kind of supernatural power, so at least humans can escape in time. That might be what happened. The desire of stars to meet again once every 1,200 years. It's fulfilled, but every single time it causes enormous trouble for humanity. That's the setup. At that scale alone, this is what it looks like. Somewhere around Sekiza, there's a vast circular orbit centered there, I think. And that circular orbit itself also rotates. Relative to the galactic plane. Seen from above, the galaxy is a spiral, and Earth is in the third, or something like that, arm, about 3.5 light-years out. Actually, the solar system takes about 1 billion years to orbit that. So the sun's orbit, when viewed against the galactic plane, is actually a spiral like this. So the Tiamat comet's orbit, relative to this spiral, is arranged like this, winding around it to keep crossing it. It becomes quite complex. This whole thing, the theme of the story, I erased it a bit, is Musubi. Connecting. In this story, whenever a miracle happens or something meaningful occurs, the word Musubi, to connect, frames the whole story, with threads being twisted into cord, braids being woven. And that mirrors the solar system's orbit within the galactic plane. And the Tiamat comet, spiraling around it. All of it forms one great thread. And at the heart of it is a comet that meets once every 1,200 years, longing to reunite with its other half, wanting to meet again and again and again. And within that, there are human partings, so humans caught in this cosmic drama are the ones who long to meet again with someone they can never see. working a soul exchange miracle, passing it down through generations. The whole of it is musubi, woven like threads being braided into cord. For Shinkai, this was his grand summation, combining everything he'd done before with cosmic scale storytelling. But he chose to leave all of that explanation out. Yet he still focused entirely on conventional, tear-jerking drama. I'm amazed he had the resolve to make that call. What's fascinating is Mitsuha's friend Tessie, this straightforward, uncomplicated guy. At the start, Tessie is riding a bicycle. He's riding his bicycle, then he lends it to Mitsuha. Go save the village, you. Go save the earth. That kind of vibe. And he hands over the bike. Mitsuha rides Tessie's bicycle, but falls and wrecks it. Then afterward, what was it? After meeting Taki. After meeting in the crater, Mitsuha runs into Tessie again and says, "Sorry, I wrecked your bike." And Tessie says, "What are you talking about?" Something like, "We'll talk about that later," but "What are you talking about?" means. The timeline completely shifted when the bike was wrecked. It slipped into a world where Tessie doesn't even own a bicycle. Tessie stopped riding a bicycle from that point and has been on a motorbike ever since. That's why he later lends Mitsuha his motorbike. In fact, the timeline shift happens quite early on. And all of that is also held back, left unshown, stripped away, and the story stays with conventional emotional drama. That's what makes it brilliant. Also, someone pointed out that the trajectory of the Tiamat comet looks odd, where it appears to curve near Earth. SF author Yamamoto Hiroshi flagged that. Astronomically, that's accurate. You could chalk it up to a production error, but there's another reading. That is because the two celestial bodies want to meet. That's why it bends. An intentional narrative choice, you could argue. I mean, it's 99% a production error, but that reading isn't impossible. So that's the story of this masterpiece of romantic drama. Your name. And that wraps it up. Thank you for watching. Looking at the comments, some people ask, did Shinkai really think that deeply? Of course he did. Anime directors think about their work roughly 100 times more than you expect. I mean that seriously. 100 times more. 100 times more, constantly deciding what to show and how much. Pushing limits, putting it on screen. The Shinkai up to that point was desperately wanting people to get it, trying so hard to make them understand. But he learned that approach doesn't sell. So instead of that, he committed to providing conventional drama on the surface, while pulling what he really wanted to say into the background layers. He executed that approach completely, and he managed to hit the target exactly as the producer intended. A few mistakes in the commentary, though. Earth is 35,000 light-years from the galactic center. Not 3.5 light-years, that's 35,000. And the galactic rotation period, I mentioned it from a book I read. And I said 1 billion years. I got that from a book, but apparently the current estimate is 200 to 250 million years. So it's been revised. I'll note that correction. Why Mitsuha's father believed her and evacuated the town. The film barely explains this at all. But that too is intentional. Shinkai could have written a script that explained it. He just chose not to. He held it back, restrained himself, kept it suppressed. At that point, the viewer thinks, Mitsuha's father, her parents. They too must have experienced the body switching long ago. This structural echo runs through the whole story. For those who don't notice, the theme song just blasts and they get swept up and cry on their own. The theme song swells, they cry. Conventional emotion at its finest. Pure conventional storytelling. And the structural brilliance of the film is quietly there for those who can see it. Deliberately pulled back, hidden, That's where your name aims. Squarely at major global cinema.